And welcome back, everyone, to the box office report today on the 8th of September, 2024. I can't even remember if I got the box office right at this point. Beetlejuice, not surprisingly, was number one with $110 million. Deadpool and Wolverine made another $7.2 million, dropping a little over 50%. Now is when the drop starts to happen, like the bigger drops. Reagan made $5.2 million, dropping only 31.6%. Good for Reagan. Alien Romulus dropped another $3.9 million, $57.7 million. And it ends with us, rounds out the top five with $3.75 million, dropping less than 50%. Good for it. But Beetlejuice, come on, let's talk about this. Come on. Look, 110. Worldwide, only 145 million. I am a little surprised by the international number being so low, but it might just be that A, Beetlejuice isn't as popular overseas as it is in the States, or B, it just hasn't had a full release yet internationally. I think it's probably a bit of column A and column B, to be honest, but we'll see what happens. But Beetlejuice making 110 million. It is the second highest grossing opening weekend all time in September, being only beaten out by the original Stephen King's It at 100, and actually I have it right here, or I had it right here. Let's see here. Worldwide. Let's go back to the worldwide, shall we? No, not worldwide. I want all time, not worldwide. There we go. All time. Let's see here. Weekend records. Okay, September. Yeah, the original Stephen King's It by about $113 million. But it's got the number 2 spot being at It Chapter 2 by a good $19 million. And this is before the actuals come in. This number 110 may fluctuate to like 111, 112, or go down by like 19, 18. But still, that's our number. And it'll still be the number 2 spot. This is impressive for multiple reasons. One, it tells us that people were really interested in this film and went to go see it. It also tells us that people probably went to see it multiple times in the weekend. It also tells us that, what was I going to say? I just blanked on what I was going to say. It also tells us that the popularity of Beetlejuice, that I think people were wanting this film. I think that was the other thing it's telling us. That, the thirst for Tim Burton, it gets kind of come back to form. To see Michael Keaton as this character, like to see this world again, I think was something a lot of the audience was kind of looking forward to. So it's a good barometer, I think, of that. That being said, it's also an indication of another thing. The film is only made on $100 million, which for a big Hollywood box office film is really low. Now, I couldn't find what the marketing budget was. Most suspect it's between 50 and 100 million, which that sounds about right. I wouldn't think it's anything above 100 million. Let's average that out to 75. The film then has to hit, roughly speaking, it has to hit, I do the math real quick in my head here. It has to hit about 270. It has to hit about 270 to break even. And it's already on a good trajectory for that. There are no really big releases when I say big releases, I mean anything that would really be taking a lot of money away from this. You got that See No Evil coming out, or Speak No Evil, which I'm probably going to be seeing, and The Killer's Game, which I'll also probably be seeing. But neither of those are like big blockbuster tentpole films. This is a big blockbuster tentpole film. You're not going to get your next one until... that's a good question. When are we going to get the next one for this week? Month? Because there are a good couple of them coming out this month. Let's see here. You're not going to get the next one until Transformers 1. It comes out the following week after that. And that's probably going to be... I don't know what's tracking right now, but it's probably going to be a sizable opening. And also the Wild Robot coming out the following week. So, yeah, you're probably not going to be getting anything that challenges this for at least a week and a half minimum. So it's got a good second week coming up for it. And it's got good reviews, too. I mean, my review for it's out. Up, you can watch it if you want. I meant to do it on a theater reaction, but I just didn't get around to it. I like the film. It's problematic in some spots, but it's one of those films that you don't care about the problems. You're just having a good time. That being said, there are some cringeworthy moments. The script isn't the best. And there's this, like I said in the review, but there's a scene involving a funeral and the boyfriend and Lydia that I'm literally twice had to go like, no, stop. Oh, God. Then there's a few other things going on in the movie as well that I'm like, but overall, I had a really good time with it. It's a lot of fun. But again, on $100 million, this is something where I constantly have been saying again when talking about things like Despicable Me 4, or I'm thinking of some other films that came out this year that were relatively on a low budget that did very well. Kung Fu Panda 4. So yeah, Despicable Me 4, Kung Fu Panda 4. Obviously Beetlejuice. Anything else that I should bring up? It Ends With Us. The Garfield movie. So these are all films that I bring up because they show us that we don't need to be making so many films on these ridiculous budgets, like $200 million for Twister, which, if that is just the budget and not the marketing budget included, is a ridiculous number to think you would have made your money back on that. Or, like, oh God, like If at 135 for If honestly wasn't that bad, or 110 for If really isn't a bad number, or like the 135 for Fall Guy, maybe a little bit expensive, but honestly, those just got like screwed over by like marketing and things along those lines. But Furiosa being made on 165 when your last movie didn't even make 400 million, like that, there's no logical sense in that. So I hope the studios take a look at this and realize, okay, we can make more films on reasonable budgets by our standards as long as we make the quality decent enough or good enough. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean we still don't put the money in where it matters. Godzilla and Kong still made 567. Doom Part 2. Deadpool, Wolverine, Inside Out 2. Still, when you got the big movies, you can afford to put the extra money in then. But you can also afford to hold back the spending a bit. And Beetlejuice is another example of this. On a $100 million budget, it already made its production budget back. Even if I were to do the third for the worldwide, it basically made that back in 1 week. So, I mean, look, hats off to Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice, will see what the overall is going to be for it in the long term. It's also, I think, it's in a good spot. What do I mean by that? This is a movie that is perfectly tailor-made for the Halloween season, but it came out at the very beginning of September. So, and with the damn, day and date releases, but early to streaming motif a lot of these studios have been going with. And seem, though, to be understanding we should back off a little bit on it. Because look what Deadpool, Wolverine, and Inside Out 2 did. Because of that, I'm just wondering, it didn't have to come out on Halloween. Let me be very clear about that. But I don't know. Oh, maybe if there could have been some agreement with the studio to swap around, I don't know, Wild Robot, which comes out near the tail end of September, and Beetlejuice, you might have arguably made more because you were closer to the Halloween season, and they would have had the whole vibe of October, because October is a vibe month. But seriously, you would have had that. So I'm not saying this is bad. This is a fantastic. It's the second highest opening weekend in September history. But I'm just saying it might have cracked the record had it come out a little closer to Halloween. I don't know. Do you think that's different? Let me know. Or do you think it would have been different? Let me know. Anyway, Deadpool Wolverine, there's 7.2 million, making in his 7th week, making 7.2 million in 7th week, $1,287 million. I think it's going to close out a little over 1.3 billion. I think that's a safe guess to have, but it's now at the point where no longer is making $1 million per day, weekday anyway. It stopped doing that around Thursday, I believe. So it's now going to be losing more theaters. Now it's in its 7th week. It's not making double digits anymore. So I think we're now going to see not the fall off, but now the inevitable end of its run. It's still going to be making money per weekend. Like, it still made $7.2 million this weekend, which is nothing to sneeze at a movie in its 7th week. Nothing to sneeze at. It's the second highest grossing movie of the year, and I'm not 100% sure there's going to be a movie that beats that this year. I got asked during my Q&A about 3 movies, Moana 2, Joker 2, and Wicked. Mufasa. Sorry. I'll add Wicked in there because I think that's the other contender for possibly $1 billion. And these are like I think your 4 biggest contenders for the $1 billion mark. Now, granted, you could still have an outlier like Venom: The Last Dance. In theory, could do it. The original made over $860 million. If this one were as good as the original, or got the feedback of the original, or was like widely praised, nothing's impossible for that. So, but those are your 4 big contenders. So the question is, do any of those 4 have a chance to being the highest grossing film of the year still? No. I don't think so. But B, do any of them have a chance at the $1 billion marker? And then C, beating Deadpool and Wolverine for the number 2 spot. Let's look at those 4 real quick. Joker 2 might have, if the reviews had not come out and been lackluster, to say the least. So now I think Joker 2 is off the table for $1 billion. I really do. I think it very much is off the table. So that leaves you with Wicked, Moana 2, and Mufasa. Well, what about... let's actually talk about Mufasa. Do I think Mufasa will make $1 billion? I think it will cross the $1 billion marker, but I don't think it will be anywhere near as big as the previous Lion King. And I actually don't even think it will beat Deadpool and Wolverine. Why do I think that? A, I don't know how many people were asking for this movie. No, let me be clear. No one's technically asking for any movie, and then some people are asking for all movies. But point being, in terms of what the audience was hoping for, I'm not sure what people, how many. Now, granted, it's still probably going to have a $100+ million opening weekend, but and it's coming out in the Christmas movie seasons, which is a huge movie season. But prequels don't historically do fantastic. There are exceptions. You got the Hobbit movies; those did fantastic. You also got the Fantastic Beasts movies, which started good and then started making to a decline. There are prequels that do financially do well. There are. But they are farther and fewer between than the movies that either just do okay or don't do well at all. Case in point, Furiosa. Now, Furiosa didn't do well solely because it's a prequel, but I don't think the prequel helped at all. Being a prequel helped at all. And I'll be honest, I don't think any of us can. And it also, frankly, just doesn't look that great. Like, I'll be honest, between Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and that, unless I'm asked, and I'm not saying you can't ask, I'm just hoping no one does, because I actually don't want to see it. Someone asked, I'm not going to be seeing that because I just didn't see the first remade Lion King. And when I finally saw like a review for it, I'm like, yeah, honestly, I'm not really sure I would have liked this movie that much. In fact, I'm actually kind of very underwhelmed by the stuff I'm seeing here. And I like The Jungle Book, which it did a lot of the same technology. The difference is, at least a human character in there to keep my attention a different way. So Mufasa, I think, might be the one that has an okay chance. Then you got Wicked. Wicked is going to be a huge box office smash. The Broadway musical is beloved. And everything I'm hearing is that these trailers are hitting the vibe of the musical perfectly. So I don't know if it'll beat Deadpool or Wolverine, but it's got a chance at the $1 billion club. If any of the 4 will do it, though, it's going to be Moana 2. 1, just like Inside Out 2, Moana is beloved. It was the highest streamed movie, I think, of either 2021, 2022, one of those years. It was the highest streamed movie on Disney Plus and all streaming. On Disney Plus, but also in pretty much all streaming. One of the highest streamed movies. It is a beloved movie. The original made like $600+ million. So it's got ways to go to get to $1 billion. But the original Inside Out 2 made like 800 and some odd. So it still had 150 to go. Smaller gap, but still a big number. So you had the return of a beloved franchise, beloved characters, family film during the holiday season between Thanksgiving and Christmas, which is the clutch season. The clutch season. But no, the clutch season, really it is. It's the clutch period. Between those two, you got the Thanksgiving numbers, and you'll still be out for the Christmas numbers later. Oh, you're going to reap-profit. I think this has the best chance of beating Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm not saying it will do it, but it's got the best chance of doing it. And because it's a 4-quadrant film, unlike Deadpool and Wolverine, it also is the only other film I think has the only other possible out of the left field shot of beating Inside Out 2. Otherwise, no, I don't think anything's beating Inside Out 2. We'll talk a little bit more about the last record it's set in a little bit. Let's speed through the rest of these, though, shall we? Reagan, $5.2 million. Look, it's not going to do well financially. It's just not. But, hey, look, it's got clearly a crowd to it. The people who, because the thing about that is, that's clearly people who went back to see it. So clearly, a lot of the people who went to see it, despite, and let's actually get the Rotten Tomatoes up here real quick, shall we? A lot of people, despite having terrible critical scores. A lot of people must have enjoyed it, or at least enjoyed enough to give word of mouth to the other people who wanted to go see it, which emboldened the people who wanted to go see it to go out and see it. So let's see where Reagan actually stands. Reagan, where are you smashing? Reagan. Where is Reagan right now? There it is, Reagan. By the way, if I remember correctly, The Crow is either equal to or just a little below Reagan at this point. Reagan is not that much more critically well-reviewed than The Crow. Think about that. By the way, I talk about it like The Crow is the worst film of the year. It is not. Okay, so this is a really big disparity right now. Holy crap. All right. Look at that. 20% of the filmmakers liked it. So, meaning 80% of all critics who saw it hated it. But 90% of the verified people, remember, this isn't like old school Rotten Tomatoes where anyone can vote on it, and that's why The Last Jedi got like the hate it got. That was so stupid. That was toxic fandom, and you should be ashamed of yourself if you did it. Like, you're not a fan, you're a child. You're just toxic and like what you like and can't handle new things. Now, I'm not saying if you didn't like the movie, you didn't like the movie, and I hate the way this thing works. Yeah, 98% of the audience liked it. That is a huge discrepancy. A huge discrepancy. If only it opened on a better box office. Like, seriously. Or a better number. If it opened at like, say, 15 million, this one actually would probably be making its money back pretty soon. Regardless, Alien Romulus, another 3.9 million. It's pretty much done its run. It's got a little bit more in the tank, certainly, but it's now closing out its run as well. It's a shame too, because it's been out a lot less longer than, say, something like Deadpool and Wolverine has. But then again, it's very more niche. It's niche sci-fi horror. But it made its money back a while ago. At an $80 million budget, it made its money back very long ago. And so now it's just kind of raking whatever profit it can. Still going to end up being only the second highest grossing film in this franchise. But hey, second place ain't bad when it's talking about millions of dollars. It ends with Us, $3.7 million. It's also ending its run fairly soon. $309 million worldwide against a $25 million budget. You got to assume $25 million in the marketing or 30-ish. I'd say 25 probably, because the studio in Canada like nice round numbers. So you're looking at a film that only had to make $75 million to break even, which it did it in the opening week. In the opening week, it made its money back. Now, this film literally made like $100 and some odd million worth of profit. It is nuts. And Sony, it was probably getting shit-faced on champagne bottles for that. The Forge, $2.9 million. Now, if I remember correctly, I think the film is made at only $5 or $6 million. Barely had any marketing, although I do remember seeing this trailer more than I ever saw the trailer for It Ends With Us. So go figure. Maybe it's because of the movies I was going to see, but then again, they were just putting this on attached to whatever. But look, I mean, probably at best $10 million in marketing if you're lucky. So this one's actually probably going to make its money back, which is impressive. Seeing as it's a very niche audience of people who go to see those types of films. Twisters, $2.2 million. You want to talk about a little film that could. A little film that could. $365 million. Now, again, it's still against allegedly a $200 million budget. And again, I will look into that by the end of the year. But it's still, it's still just kind of chugging along. It really is. And I just kind of have to put hats off to it, man. It might end, it looks like it will end somewhere in maybe like the 370-ish range, which is still not amazing given the circumstances, but is not god-awful. Certainly isn't god-awful. So, yeah, I mean, again, yeah, awesome. Then we got Blink Twice, $2.1 million. Look, it's another little film that's kind of chugging along a little bit. And I'm not saying it will make its money back. It's probably not going to be making its money back. But the fact that it actually made as much money as it did, and it got decent reviews, too, for Zoe Kravitz's, I think, first outing as a director, got solid reviews. So, Despicable Me 4, another $1.8 million, $929 million worldwide. Again, it just quietly crossed the $900 million marker. Go figure. The Front Room, the new A24 film, as a lot of people have kind of said, this I think is the first film that a lot of people were just, this is going to be A24's first big loss. It's only got a 51%. In fact, I'm curious actually on this film because I'm like, oh wow, this feels like a Tyler Perry horror film. I'm not gonna lie. And now, I'm not saying that because she's black. I'm saying that because our main lead is black and the way it was shot, let me be very clear, the way it was shot, at least from the trailer, it looked like Tyler Perry was doing a horror film. Now, I don't believe he's the one directing this. I hope to God not. And hey, it's nice to see Brandy and other things. I like Brandy. Brandy's cool. She's actually a good actress and gorgeous. But 1 second here. So let's see. So 51%. Oh, and 39% in the audience don't like it. That's okay. Because let me get the full. Because I'm like, okay. Everything goes to hell for newly pregnant Belinda, Brandy Norwood, after her mother-in-law, Catherine Hunter, moves in. As the diabolical guest tries to get her claws on the child, Belinda must draw the line somewhere. Interesting. Like, is she supposed to be by the way, I haven't tried to figure this out. Is she supposed to be a witch, or just a psychotic racist or whatever, or a psychotic racist witch? So I'm just going to look at a couple of these reviews. Okay, one person who liked it, Adrian Horton from The Guardian. Judging by the enthusiasm at the theater for Belinda's sharpening jibes as Solange's antics become impossible to ignore, the Front Room does capture one delicious rich truth. Hell hath no fear like a mother scorned. Okay, but here's another one. The Front Room from Shannon McGrew at Creepy Kingdom. The Front Room is an audacious debut from the Egger brothers. Egger brothers. Interesting. While it struggles to find a steady footing, it does hit every note it aims for. Credit must be given where it's due. They really swing for the fences. Okay, but let's look at two of the not so great reviews. Peyton Robinson. The premise proposes a battle of wits and control via a brewing storm between the two leads that never really comes to pass. All right, that's not a bad review. I mean, it's not a great review. It's not god-awful. A mean-spirited hagsploitation movie. Neither scary nor funny. Oh, okay. That does lead me to believe she might be some sort of witch. The Front Room just puts your gag reflexes to test by humiliating an old body. Ooh. And tries to get away with it by making the owner of the body an actually awful mother-in-law from hell. Okay, so yeah, that does legitimately tell me that she's probably a witch. And like they're just so on the nose that it's not entertaining. Interesting. Anyway, we'll see if it can maybe do something. I mean, A24 is not known for making, money makers. They're known for the more exploitation and prestige stuff. So who knows? Trap managed to actually go up in percentage despite losing half of its screens. Figure that out. 78 million. It still didn't make its money back, but again, that's impressive. Afraid, another movie that did not make its money back. And it's Blumhouse, Blumhouse, I think, has maybe lost their step this year. Their best film, arguably, that came out this year was Imaginary, and even that was just okay. It wasn't great, but it had some good things in it. Night Swim was god-awful. And I was kind of interested in this film, but I'm like, I'll hold off. Maybe I should have gone to seen it to give it some more credibility. Or not. At least I would have given it awareness. Our Inside Out 2 and our $743 million. Okay. Crossed its final record. $1,675 million worldwide. That now makes it the 8th highest grossing film of all time. And that is where the record is going to stand for it. Now, I mean, let me check real quick the all-time domestic. Maybe it could cross another record somehow that way. Though, domestically, I somehow doubt it. Let me just see where it lies domestically. It stands as the 8th highest... Oh, no, it's worldwide. I want the domestic. It stands as I want to say it's 11th highest grossing. Okay, it might be able to make it to the 10th highest grossing domestic film of all time. It's literally only about 1.5 million, not even, away from that. It might. I'm not saying it will. It might. I'm not going to hold my breath on that one, though. The Inside Out 2, but the worldwide, I felt a lot more confident because that's not just domestic, that's international as well. And lo and behold, it ultimately ended up doing it. It made it to the 8th highest grossing film of all time spot, and there it's going to sit for probably a very long time, because it's going to be a long time before a film comes. Let me rephrase a long time. It's probably going to be in the top 10 of all time. Top 10 of all time for a good long while, until Marvel can get its shit back together completely. Deadpool Wolverine is a fantastic start, but I'm not holding my breath on it's getting its shit back together completely until we see Agatha All Along, Brave New World, Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four. Until we see those, and Daredevil. Until I watch all of those and go like, yes, this is awesome, because I stand by this. I have liked, on some level, if you're asking me, do I lean more towards liking or hating? I lean more towards liking everything Marvel has made. Even Secret Invasion, I would lean more towards I liked it than I hated it. But the stuff I hated in it is so bad. In fact, if I were to say there's one thing I didn't like in Marvel and the MCU, it would probably be Secret Invasion. That might be my one exception. Otherwise, like everything else, even She-Hulk, I still lean more towards the fence of liking it than hating it. I'm just not ignorant on the stuff I hated, or the stuff that I thought went wrong. So, yeah, until Marvel can give me some that's what I need. That's ultimately what it comes down to. It's not getting your shit together. It's consistency. Give me consistency. Do that. And then we can be talking about Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars making $2 billion again. Then we can talk about that. And then kicking it out of the top 10. Actually, it wouldn't even do that. It would still be the number 10th highest grossing. But until that happens, or Avatar comes out or whatever again, Avatar 3, which, again, I like those films, but I don't quite understand. Is it the spectacle? Is that it? I don't understand why they're as high grossing as they are. I actually don't really understand the hype. But to be fair, a lot of that comes from the international. Like, internationally, those films are loved. So, I don't know what it is. I mean, yeah, again, spectacle really helps. The experience, absolutely. But still, once again, we are now back in a weekend where the box office is over 100 million. And I have a feeling with Speak No Evil and Killer's Game, we might see another one. I think Speak No Evil is actually going to have a really good weekend this weekend. Speaking of which, I'm predicting Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice, shockingly, will be number 1 again. But I will actually say Speak No Evil will be number 2. I think you're going to see, like, high teens, low 20 millions for that one, at least. And then I'm going to go Killer's Game. It's the next new big release. And then after that, now it's going to get a little tricky. Deadpool and Wolverine's probably going to be dropping on 50 or high 40 next week. So probably in the 3 million range, maybe 4 if it's lucky. If Reagan drops another 30 some odd percent, which I think that's a fair guess right now, let's just say 30%. 30% of that would be 50. That's going to put... Reagan actually might make more than Deadpool and Wolverine next week. I'm going to go with my gut, though. I'm going to say Deadpool and Wolverine will be number 4. That's what I'm going to say. Then I think we'll round it out with predicting that Reagan will actually be number 4. 5. Reagan's sticking around. That's impressive. But so yeah, Beetlejuice, not surprisingly. Then Speak No Evil, The Killer's Game, Deadpool, Wolverine, and then Reagan. Those are my thoughts, though. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. I'll catch you guys for the next one.